What is up, everyone? It is I, Coach Austin, from the Nerd Out and Workout podcast, coming to you from my office, in a way, one of those rental offices in the apartment complex type of thing. Uh, but it's been a while. For those of you who are listening and are returning from my long hiatus, welcome back. And for those of you who are new, welcome to the Nerd Out Workout podcast, where we nerd out, workout, and podcast. And we talk about anything resembling fandom, fitness, food, and everything in between. And I'm kind of in this crossroads with this podcast. This is episode 68. Today we're going to be talking about the dealing with the miscarriage and, suffering pregnancy loss and how my wife and I, bounced back from it. And that's pretty much one of the biggest reasons I took the hiatus. And I'm kind of now at this crossroads of taking time, reflecting on what I want to really do with this thing, with this show. And it's been fairly consistent. It's been growing pretty consistently when we were consistently producing episodes. And it obviously kind of dropped off when we took a long hiatus, and I kind of listened back to all of our other episodes, and we were kind of talking about a lot of stuff. And there's things I want to talk about now going into this chapter in my life. I'm all about working out and all that and fandom, but there's also other things I want to talk about. Travel. I want to talk about potential fatherhood and all that stuff, because that's where I am in my life. So for those of you who've been consistently tuning in, I thank you. Thank you for this. This has been, I started this podcast about, several years ago, pre-pandemic, not knowing what's going to happen with it. And we kind of grew a small audience. And I know I feel bad because I took a long pause after we lost our first unborn, but we found out she was the daughter. She was a her. We named her Alani, and we'll go more into those details. But after that, I took like a fat break, and it's just been kind of discombobulated for the longest time. And now, if you're listening, and I'm trying to get this show back on track. One of my biggest goals now is to really blow this show up, really. So if you've been listening since day one, I thank you. Thank you so much. There's going to be a lot of things that we're going to do. But first and foremost, if you could just review this podcast, if you could just show us some love on either Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, just the reviews help kind of spread the word of it. I don't have no studio. I don't have no damn setup. This is all audio only. I don't even have videos showing us to talk about this and the other. Maybe soon. I'm gonna, for those of you who know Kevin was my co-host for a while. I'm gonna try to get him back, and he wants to come back. So we're gonna figure out a good, consistent time schedule, and we're gonna figure out moving forward what type of podcast this is going to be. It's still gonna be rooted in working out and strength and conditioning and fandom, but I want to introduce something else. I want to talk about more about things that food. I want to talk about food because we love food. And we talk about mental health a lot, and we're just trying to figure out something. I mean, the idea I have, and you could chime in. You could email back. I think we have an email contact. But you let me know, because I'm thinking about calling it the Dad Bod Squad. But I hear I've seen there's a lot of Dad Bod type podcasts, so I was consulting with my wife, and she was just like, just keep it Nerd Out Workout. You guys have a good following. You guys have a good audience. You're growing. Just keep it. Just make it a bigger brand. And I'm like, okay, maybe. So that's where that. So without further delay, I'm going to dive into what happened. I'm going to dive into, was it May of 2022? Yeah, so I haven't made a new episode since then. We did actually record one episode about Comic-Con, but I just wasn't in the right headspace to produce it and post it. I mean, Kevin went out of his way to really help record it, but I just wasn't in the right mindset to do anything. I didn't want to do anything. So we were approaching 11 weeks pregnant, and this is our first pregnancy. Now, I'm talking about this because, I don't think I don't think there's a lot of content out there from the husband or the father point of view of going through a miscarriage. It's a lot of support from the women, which obviously, of course, yes, but there's not so much support or experience from men. Um, we're taught at a young age as a man to fuck your feelings and and just suck it in and suck it up and just deal with it, bury it under and just deal with it. Don't show weakness. But I'm like, fuck that. No, I'm gonna talk about my experience, my pain, and hopefully someone, if you're going through the same thing, yeah, I hope it helps you in one way, shape, or form. But I know in this point in time, it's whatever, right? So we were 11 weeks pregnant, 11 and a half weeks pregnant. We're doing a routine. Giselle was going to go in to do a routine. My wife, she was going to go do a routine checkup at Kaiser. And I wanted to be there for every appointment. I had football practice, I was coaching, and it was one of those things where Giselle was like, it's a routine checkup, you don't got to be there. And I was like, okay, all right. So I went and did football practice. I did my thing, and then what happened was, after football practice, I got pizza because she wanted pizza. She was craving pizza. Then after football practice, I was trying to call her to kind of confirm some things, and she didn't answer. And I was like, okay, she's probably busy. I got pizza, and I came home, and she was in the bed crying, and I could only deduce two things. One is maybe it's the hormones. Maybe she's just crying because she's crying because she's crying. Because being pregnant is a lot. It takes a toll on the body, the mind. So I was like, oh, maybe that. And the second one, which was very dark, was like, don't tell me we lost her. Don't tell me, I didn't even know the sex of the baby. Don't tell me we lost the baby. Because at the time I kept calling the baby Junior. Oh, Junior. Because we didn't know. I thought it was gonna be a boy. And then she was crying, and I was like, "What happened?" And she goes, we lost them, because we just kept referring to the baby to him, and I'm like, oh no. So I hugged her and I said, everything's gonna be okay. And as a dude, that's what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to comfort your wife, you're trying to comfort your partner, to make sure that you got it all handled. But deep down, you're like, what do I do now? What the fuck? And it was more so, I don't think it really hit me because I was just more on fix it mode. Like, okay, how do we fucking do what we do, right? And I talking about what exactly happened, I don't want to get too much into detail, but long story short, they just didn't find a heartbeat during that appointment. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't want to talk about what Giselle went through personally because that's for her and for her to decide how she wants to tell that. But we just found out, there was no more heartbeat and all that. So that was that. And it sucked. It sucked because it's weird because you never met this quote unquote baby. Like you never met this baby. Well, it's a baby, yeah. But the reason I use air quotes is because it's just you haven't really made contact with this person, right? It's weird, but it hits you in such a hard way because I was gonna be your baby. That was he was growing. You heard the heartbeat because I remember the first time I heard the heartbeat and it was real. I'm like, yo, that's my kid. And when you hear that heartbeat, everything changes. And for those of you who are single, don't have kids yet, don't ever want kids, that's okay. It's all good. I mean, I'm not judging. But for those of you who don't know that experience yet, it definitely is a game changer. It's not fully a game changer compared to when a baby arrives, like when you see the baby and you touch the baby and you hear the baby and you feel the baby and you smell the baby and all that. But when you hear the heartbeat, it definitely rocks your world, definitely like impacts you very hard. So when that's taken away from you all of a sudden, without warning, It's fucked up. And you're not alone if you're a dude, if you have no idea how to fix it. No one knows how to fix that shit. Like, how do we comfort our partner who felt like they failed not only themselves but us and families also? Because now the families involved, like their family, her family, our family. I mean, we had this whole big announcement at Maggiano's. We rented out a private room to announce our pregnancy to them. We didn't even announce it publicly. We just wanted to announce it to them, and they were crying. They had tears and all that. So and then we never. Now Maggiano's is like a weird ass place to go because it's a horrible memory because the baby passed away, and I'm just saying, don't. I know it sounds stupid, but like, don't beat yourself up too much. But it's like no one knows what to do in this situation when they're confronted with it. They can watch all the fucking YouTube videos, they could read all the damn books, but you don't know how you're personally going to react. You don't know how your partner's going to react. You don't know how your family's going to react. But we took it one day at a time, and there's a lot more that goes into this story. But again, I don't want to go into too much specifics. But just know it was pretty fucking rough. And once we dealt with the whole thing and we tried to press the reset button, it was hard because, the due date was November. And we found out later on it was a girl. So I was like, dude, my first kid was a girl. And I was going to call her Alani. Yeah. And, once... like tearing up, but yeah, you once you find out, you're like, oh, she was a girl, and I was calling her Junior this whole time, and I still refer to her as Junior. It hit hard, and we were talking to, we Giselle and I go to couples therapy because it helps, and even more so now, like going through that, we had to go through therapy. We needed someone outside of family, like we needed someone to kind of help us through this and navigate. And it was hard, man. Let me tell you. There's no shame. I mean, if you're a long time listener, you understand, you get it. About me and my view of mental health. So, we went, and our therapist was like, you should do something on the day of. You should do something on the day of the due date or the week of the due date. Okay. So keep that in mind. We scheduled a Hawaii trip just to get away from it all during the due date of Alani, when she was supposed to come into this world. Now, we did already schedule like some type of baby moon before we found out, and we didn't want to waste it. But it was a very bad idea. We thought we could muscle through it because we scheduled a Disneyland trip, guys. And obviously you're gonna be like, why? We thought we could just get away with, look, we're just gonna go to Disneyland or California Adventure. We're just gonna go and drink and just forget about life or whatever, forget about things and just trying to have fun. Horrible thing to do. I know those of you out there are like, duh, Austin. Like, okay, first off, we're just grasping at whatever we could. That's how we were coping. And so we went, and that was like the worst decision ever because, yeah, there was a lot of family, there was a lot of kids, there was a lot of babies, and it was like the most horrible experience going to Disneyland that I've ever had in my life. And, there was no lines. The weather was great. It wasn't one of those. No, it was just everything reminded us of like, shit, man, can we ever have a kid? Like, it sucked. I remember there was a point under the monorail on one of the pillars, and we were just standing there, and we saw, I think, a Filipino or an Asian family, and they had a daughter and a son, probably around 3 to 5 years old each. And I just remember, Giselle looking at me, and she just threw her arms over me and started hugging me and crying. And then I had to start tearing because it sucked. And, we went back, said never again, never will I go to Disneyland like that. Like, what the fuck were we thinking? So it takes time, to get over something like this. And I'm not saying like it's easy to get over it. Oh, just like, just muscle it out and power through it. No, everyone's going to have you guys. If you're going through something like this, you're going to have your own version of it. And it's okay. It is okay. It is okay. Whatever you're doing, it is okay. It is okay to go through it together. And you don't need to rush through it. You don't need to try to overcompensate. I will admit, personally, there are some, coping mechanisms that I went through that I'm not too proud of, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And everyone goes through something like that. And, if you don't, then I think you're a liar. But, I mean, and that's very normal too. But it's to recognize it right away and to try your best to not repeat those behaviors or repeat, and I don't want to go into details about that stuff. Everyone knows what their coping stuff is. Even if they don't know, they kind of get an idea of it. So once you recognize that, once you kind of understand the whys of what you're doing, you really try to stick to just moving forward with your best foot forward and being, being focused on what you need to do moving forward. And so after about, I think, a few months, Giselle and I started getting, kind of back into a rhythm of things. Obviously I didn't want to do shit. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to do anything. Speaking about coping mechanisms, I took a job at Meta to be the director of personal training just because I just wanted to work. I just wanted to work more, even after, while owning a gym. I just wanted to get, I guess, have the gym run itself while I do something else too. And it was weird. And I was also coaching football. And it was so weird. I was trying to keep myself busy. And I was lying to myself a lot because I was like, I'm doing this because I was applying for this job because I knew we needed extra money for, for the kid and this, that, and the other. Even though the gym was actually doing pretty well, I just wanted to just not be around the things I was around when we were pregnant, So I did that, and that was pretty bad. So, but when November came around, the due date, we went to Hawaii. And a little bit before then, again, we were trying to get back into a rhythm of things. So we found out probably a few days before we flew to Hawaii that we were pregnant again. And it was like, holy shit. Holy shit. And we checked. We double, triple, quadruple checked. And this time we went with one of our doctors, one of the doctors who was actually one of our clients, who helped deliver a baby for one of our head coaches. She was great too. And we asked her if she could accept us as one of her patients. And she had a long waiting list. And she's like, dude, hearing everything that we went through, Dr. Adruni it's like one of those white knights. She was an angel, man. She is an angel. She helped us through a lot of stuff, even during the previous miscarriage when our current doctor wasn't that helpful. And so she helped us a lot, even when we weren't under her plan. She did what she could with what she could do, and when we found out we were pregnant again, I said, we want to work with you. And so we did. And she helped us a ton. It was a nice change of scenery. It was a nice change of pace. It was like hiring a new head coach, right? I don't know if I want to say that, but it was great. The experience was great. She totally took her time. She understood what we went through and how she wanted to help us. But, long story short, we found out we were going to Hawaii. We found out we were pregnant, and we stayed near Ko'olina. We stayed in Kapolei. We stayed at one of the, I think, the Residence Inn in Kapolei, because I wanted to stay close to Colina, because I wanted, that's where I like to go. Um, and I like to stay at Alani, but I didn't want to pay the Alani prices. But so I went to, we stayed at Kapolei, and we went to Alani, and obviously I wanted to, that was the name I wanted to name the daughter that we lost. I call her the daughter, the girl that we lost. It was Lonnie. So I was crying, man. I was crying, sitting there. People were looking at me weird, like sitting in the resort. It's like, sir, do you need help? But I remember my wife and I were looking at this resort. I said, I'm gonna take Junior here. I call him Junior. By default, we call him Junior. I'm gonna take him here one time, eventually, and I look forward to that day. And we just started crying. It was a lot of crying. So going back to what our therapist said, she said we need to make a thing, right? We need to have she also said we needed to make like some type of ceremony for some type of closure. So we went down to one of the lagoons in Colina, I think the one right in front of Alani, and we had like a little flower, and we put it off to the ocean to kind of symbolize like us, saying goodbye to Alani. And hopefully she could look over this next child that we're going to have. And we found out eventually that this new, the second pregnancy, it was a boy. So I'm definitely calling him Junior. And I called him Junior, right? Because now Giselle, it's very normal to feel like, are we forgetting about the first unborn child? Are we moving past that baby? Are we forgetting about them? Just so we're focusing on this one? And Giselle couldn't get over herself with that. It's a lot of guilt, and it's very normal to go through that. Very, very normal. And, and I said, for me, it was more of like, nah, man, because now she's watching over her little brother. And for those of you who you're religious or not, that's just how I like to see it. And I'm not the most religious guy. I'll be the first one to tell you. I don't go every Sunday. You know what I mean? But I'll be the first to tell you that. I truly feel in some way, shape, or form, Alani's out there watching over her little brother. And I think that was her job in the first place. I would like to believe that. So the pregnancy in itself was crazy. It was crazy in a good way, because we're going through it again, and this time we're like super hyper aware of everything, super freaking sensitive to everything, making sure she don't eat certain things, making sure that she's good, that she's working out appropriately, not going too crazy with certain things. So we did that, and fast forward in late July, around during Comic-Con weekend, we met Junior. Or Junior. And I'm telling you, as a father, the moment they pull that baby out, the moment the baby enters the room, I'm just going to keep it like that. Just keep it like that, Because, dear God, if you're ever in a delivery room, dear God, so much blood. But if you see, once you see your child arrive, you instantly change. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's the hormones, because you see the baby, you hear the baby, it's oxytocin's coming out, like, trying to be more scientific about it. But no, genuinely, like, all the stuff that you did in the past, all the stupid shit, all the, like, just thinking as like a single male dumbass, like, it just kind of goes out the window at that point. Because now, and I'm just speaking for myself, everyone's different. I'm just speaking for myself, because now it's like, wow, this is higher than me. I gotta really focus up and stop doing the stupid shit, like just doing random shit. Like I really gotta focus up. And I swear to God, it's like you change into a different man, a better man, because now it's like I have someone 100% reliant on me. My wife is a strong ass woman. She don't need me. She could live her life without me. let's not get that all twisted, Uh, but like bringing a life into this world, and now this life depends 100% on me and my wife. It's like, yo, I gotta step this up. So happiest day of my life, seeing Junior, meeting Junior, outside of being married to Giselle, getting married to Giselle. I feel as a guy, I feel like I don't deserve any of this. I'm fighting my own little version of imposter syndrome, and I should do an episode about that, huh? But I'm truly thankful for everything that has happened so far, because we started with the lowest of lows of what we went through. Because after, I mean, I didn't even mention, like, Giselle lost her family dog, which really impacted her a lot, I think. And then her dad was going through some health stuff, and it was just a lot of stuff. And then me personally, like right before Junior was born, my uncle passed away. A really close uncle of mine passed away, and it was messed up. And so long story short, this was the light of the at the end of our very long, dark, gritty tunnel. And I like how they call them like the rainbow baby. It's like it's the rainbow. It's like a rainbow after a harsh storm. Like, bitch, we went through fucking Twister and the perfect storm and San Andreas fault earthquake and Armageddon at the same time. Like, that's how we felt. I'm sure there's people who've been through worse. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, it was really tough. It sucked. But we were very fortunate to have our family always supporting us, always having our back, being there for us, our friends always checking in. Very fortunate, very lucky to have that. And don't be too prideful to talk to people or ask that one individual for help, man. I mean, there's people that I've met along this way, like at that new job that I left Meta after a while, because fuck that. But yeah, so I did that. But there's people I met that truly helped me through this journey, because they were like they were wise people who've been through a lot of stuff, and they were teaching me and talking to me about just life in general, and how the perspective should shift a little bit. And we're very fortunate to have Junior right now. And as we speak, this is October of 2023. All right, October 4th, Wednesday, as the day of this recording. I don't know. I'll probably release it probably later on this month. But that is where we're at right now. I came to a place where now I just want to focus on certain things. Our gym's actually doing. I haven't been in the gym running it for like the last 90 days. My team's been fucking killing it. And shout out to them. They're the ones holding down the damn fort, and they're fucking killing it. Like, for real. We had one of our best months ever. We're on track to having another best month ever. We're trying to hire, 2 more coaches who are ready to go. That takes a while, but just like the light at the end of the tunnel is like it's an understatement. I just feel like things are clicking in a way, and I don't want to jinx it. I mean, the Niners are 4-0 as we speak, but speaking about Jesus, God damn it, Austin. But it's weird, because now when you get to this point, I feel like what is the bad thing that's going to happen now? Because that's also a very normal feeling. But that's our experience with suffering a pregnancy loss and currently trying to bounce back. Because now it's like, man, we're going through parenthood, and that's a new, dealing with a newborn. Junior's about, he's almost 12 weeks now. This guy's starting to like, what's crazy is that, he's starting to like look at me, like check, keep an eye contact. He's like responding to me, trying to communicate with me. That's crazy. So, obviously sleep shit, but my happiness is through the fucking roof. Like, you get to the point where you just don't, you give. And I can understand this now, especially all dads. I could appreciate and understand. I can understand also very well why my dad was always pissed off when I was in my childhood, because your patience runs very low now with a lot of things because you got all this pressure and you won't tell about it. I get it now. I get it. Like there's pressure now as a dad. You have pressure as a dad that you're not going to tell everyone about your pressure. You're not going to show it that it's phasing you, but God damn it, it's there. And if there's something that shouldn't be inconveniencing you, be of an inconvenience because of someone's stupidity, you're going to call that shit out pretty fast. And it really depends on the degree of how nice you want to be. But yeah, I have very little patience for a lot of things now. I'm not an asshole about it. I'm not a dick, but there are certain things where I'm like, nope, not doing that. Nope, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do this, this, and that. And this is what I'm going to do. And this is what I'm going to focus on. And one of them is, for me is I'm going to take a step back from training a lot of one-on-one clients. I'm going to do a lot of the marketing and then the creative side of building the brand of what is Hyper, because that's just what I love, and it's my baby, it's my job. I mean, the coaches are doing a great job training our people. It's a great situation to be in. And, I want to have more time spending with my kid. I want to have more time, taking him to the park, just having fun times in the middle of the day. Dude, I'm already planning our first Disney trip going back, but only if he's of age. I'm not a big fan of I'm gonna get a lot of hate. I'm not a big fan of taking fucking babies to Disneyland. I'm sorry. They don't understand it. They won't get it. And you're just putting yourself through torture. Now, that's just me. To me, what's the perfect age to take your kid to? I'm waiting till 5. When they know what's going on. Their motor skills are mostly developed in a way where they can, walk and run around. They're not at a toddler where they're just crying even if they get their way. Like I'm waiting where, I can take my kid there and he'd be like, "Yo, Dad, that's Mickey." And I'm like, "Yeah, you want to go take a picture?" I'm like, "Yes, fucking go." So that's just my opinion. All right, don't hate on me. If you like taking your baby to Disneyland, more power to you. You are a what is it? You are an angel because your patience must be immaculate. But yeah, so that is where we're at for that. This is my first episode back. This is episode 68. And that was our experience suffering through a pregnancy loss and how we bounced back. And if you listen this far, I appreciate you. If you're going through the same thing, I hope you see better days. And I know that may or may not mean much, but I truly do hope you see better days, and just know they are. And it'll come in weird ways, man. It'll come in weird ways. Because I was angry at the world for the longest time, angry at everything. I mean, I took a break from coaching football to take care of my newborn. I took, because at that point, before then, I was just doing everything, and I was just mad at everything. And I probably yelled at people that shouldn't have been yelled at. I admit that I fucked up, but you're gonna go through that shit, especially if you're going through a loss. So just know that it's not who you are. It's just what you're going through, right? So I'm not gonna say hang in there, because I hated that shit when people like, hey, it'll be fine. Just take it one day at a time. Like, fuck that. I should be holding my baby right now. Like that. That's how I was, especially when it came to the due date. So, what was it? But that's our story. If you could find some type of hope in our story, then it did its job. Because there is hope in one way, shape, or form. But it's not. It's gonna come in weird ways. Because I didn't even know if we were gonna have another kid. I didn't know if it was gonna be possible. I didn't know if we were gonna have to adopt. I didn't know if we were gonna do IVF. I didn't know any of that. I didn't know. And I would have been totally fine with either of those ways. Just so we can move forward and be who we want to be and all that. But it's things will happen. So the last thing you want to do is give up, or just and give up meaning give up on yourself. Like, fuck this, da da da. Don't do that. That's bad juju. If there's hope, there's hope. Even if it's the smallest hope, it's okay. Because, just a little glimmer could turn into, a bright ass sky with 5 suns. I'm just saying, man. But I hope this helps. I mean, I'm going into this. This is my first episode back, so I apologize. I'm already apologizing. I apologize for its brevity, but I'm just trying to get back into the rhythm. But if you have any feedback for us, if you want us to do more things or talk about more things, because the direction I'm trying to take with this podcast now, I am really thinking about, it's more of like, what I have is like the Dad Bod Squad journey through fitness, fandom, football, and fatherhood. There's a lot of F's in there. I will definitely try to condense it. But I am leaning towards keeping the Nerd Out Workout title and just covering a lot of topics, because it's all about the passion of the topics, right? Because people can talk about a lot of things, but it's just how passionate they are about it that gets people interested in the stories they're telling. Because I want to get more guests on here. I'm going to get more, I'm trying to get more consistent co-hosts so there's more banter. And that's where I'm gonna go with. So, and I'm trying to get this more of a video. Like, we'll start officially doing video, like have video with our podcast too, because that would be great. Because right now I could just only do audio. I look like a mess. I'll talk about my actual new dad bod where I literally gained like 12 pounds already. Fuck. I gotta get back at it. But thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, follow our podcast. Please rate us for this podcast to get more known. There's gonna be one new episode every week. I'm gonna find out what days I want to release them. Probably every Wednesday we're gonna release a new episode. But thank you guys again for listening, and we will see you later. Okay, bye.